No time to sit this one out. It's time to get on my feet. Rise up and move to the rhythm of my pounding heartbeat. Passions are fired up. I will not fade away. Thunder driving through me. So much to do and say. Wake up, shake up. Step up, step out.
Welcome. I'm Mary Ewell, your host on MPA Today, where we explore what's going on in the Monadnock region to move us forward, to make us a more sustainable, inclusive, energized, and people-powered community. Today, I'm talking to two of the co-founders of Elm City Compost Initiative, Kira Wadsworth and Albert Diamond. The first half of the show, I'm going to be talking to Kira. Welcome, Kira.
Thank you, Mary.
I'm so happy that you're here with us today.
I'm also happy to be here.
I just wanted to first start out, tell me about the business and, what's behind it? What kind of generated the idea to get the whole thing started?
Sure. So first of all, the business is myself, my husband, Mark Wadsworth, and Albert Diamond. And I actually thought about this idea back in undergrad. When I saw that Portland, Oregon had citywide composting, I kind of looked into what it would take to make that happen in the town I was living in. And then again, when I was here in Keene, I saw other places like Portland, Maine, and Upper Valley utilizing citywide pickup. So I thought that it'd be a great idea to bring that to Keene.
Okay, so now Keene's kind of a small city. What made you think that it could really thrive in a small town? Because there is a difference between Portland, Oregon, and Keene, New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. Well, So initially this started as a project at Antioch. I just graduated from Antioch University, and I was looking into what it would look like to have that happen in Keene, and I started talking about it with people, and I started getting a lot of support. So that made me feel like I had to actually make it a reality, because there were so many people that were already home composting, but they have also heard about the other programs that were going on, and they started getting really excited. So I thought that, I started talking about this exciting thing, I had to move forward with it.
Okay, and so what else where were they hearing it from? Were they hearing it from all the way on the West Coast, or were they hearing it from maybe a little bit closer to us in Keene?
Probably from businesses like the Upper Valley Compost Company, as well as the Garbage to Gardens in Portland, Maine, and yeah.
Yeah, so there are things going on right here in the state now where they're having this pickup.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the Upper Valley, is working as close as Concord, so that's pretty close.
Okay, and what does your customer base look like now?
Well, our customer base is basically, we have a lot of residents that are signed up with us, and we have a few people that are also in apartments, and we're really hoping to be able to expand to offer to apartment buildings that are, closed off, or you have to have a key to go into your apartment. So we're trying to work with different rental companies so that they can allow us to have a receptacle where they take all their garbage so that we can start collecting compost in the larger apartment buildings. And we even offer the pickup service to homes for people who have home composting, because, the special thing about this service is we can take the meat, we can take the dairy, we can take the wax, and we can take those compostable bags that people use. Those things can't really break down in a home composting system. So by offering the service, we allow people to be able to compost more that they couldn't do just at their homes.
Okay, so maybe we need to go back a little and say, what do they get when they sign up with
Sure,
you.
yes.
So we're talking about this composting, and people at home are like, okay, I kind of know about composting. I've seen like these drums that I turn at my house, or I've seen like these different stage kind of like buildings that people, like little structures that people have in their backyards, and they throw their yard waste. Or I've gone to the Keene recycle place, right? And I've dumped my yard waste. But you're not really talking about that kind of compost pickup, right?
Yeah, so what we mainly are focusing on is the food scraps.
Okay.
So what we do is people can go on our website and they sign up, and so we get their address and they can start payment and they start our service. And what that means is on a Tuesday we drop off a bucket with a lid and a
Oh, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
How big is the bucket so people can just get an idea in their heads?
Yeah, so the buckets are 5-gallon buckets right now, and we are currently using some repurposed buckets as well as buying new buckets while we're trying to figure out the best receptacle to use. We're trying to model it after how the other businesses have done it, just to not recreate the wheel. And so we offer a 5-gallon bucket, and that seems to be working pretty well for people's needs. And we pick up that 5-gallon bucket every week. So through this service, that's $15 a month. People get to have 20 gallons of their home scraps, meat and dairy, wax paper, different things like that, and we can take it away for them instead of it going into their garbage.
Okay, and what about, I'm thinking about my composting at home, and I worry sometimes about animals, but I know that I can put like eggshells. I've heard that that's fine for composting, but I still worry about that, or maybe the egg crates, because I don't buy my eggs in the plastic. I really like to have it in that kind of soft cardboard. Would that be okay to put in there?
Yeah, you can definitely put, bones, meat, dairy, any oils, waxed papers, and because we give you this bucket with a lid that's sealed, most people take it inside with them and use it in their kitchen. People are also welcome to leave it outside if they collect it inside and then dump it. And because of the lid that we have, vermin can't get in and like mess it up like they sometimes do with home compost systems.
Okay, great. And I'm looking at your name, Elm City Compost Initiative, and I'm wondering, why did you add that initiative at the end?
Yeah, so when I was coming up with this project and I was thinking about it at school, I was thinking about a bunch of different names like Keene Compost or something like that, but I think that Keene has a really unique story around the elm trees, and I think that it really speaks to the city of Keene, and I wanted it to have that nature connection, because for me, by home composting, you're kind of bringing yourself back to nature and realizing that all these things that you eat and this food waste that you create can come back to you as healthy compost that you can use to grow more food. So it's kind of closing that loop, and I wanted to keep that natural feel to it.
Oh, okay, and I guess there's another advantage that we can think of composting. So if we're not composting, we're not putting it in the trash, right? So we're kind of reducing, that need, right? So can you speak to that? I mean, what's your hope there, as you go forward?
Yeah, definitely. So we named this business Elm City Compost Initiative, and the goal is to reduce the impact on landfills. So right now we take all of our stuff to the Wyndham Solid Waste Facility in Brattleboro because they can actually process all the meat and dairy and things that we're allowing customers to take. And our initiative and our goals is to eventually be able to establish that here in Keene. And there's different processes that are put into place where it's a potential. I think that Albert will be able to speak a little bit more to that, but our hopes are to eliminate people's barriers to becoming more sustainable in their lives.
Great, great. Well, thank you, Kira, so much for giving us this information And I really hope that, people listening will go to your website. And can you share that with us?
Sure. Our website is www.elmcitycompost.com.
Great. And that you can sign up there to have them come and deliver their buckets and pick it up each week, and you get a new one each week, right? So
Yep.
no washing, right, of the buckets?
We take care of cleaning out the buckets for you.
Yeah, so what a great service. You just put it out and a new one comes fresh and clean each week for you. And even if you compost, there are a lot of things that you buy in your home that you wouldn't want in your home compost. So I really hope that everyone goes to the website and checks it out. And we'll be back in a minute or two to talk to Albert.
Thank you.
Hello. Come join us at the Monadnock Drive Electric event at Keen Ice on Marlborough Street on September 15th from 12 to 4 p.m. Take a test drive in an electric car or a spin on an electric bike. Have fun learning about electric vehicles and infrastructure and more. Want to volunteer or bring your electric vehicle? Sign up at driveelectricweek.org. Hi, I'm back with Albert Diamond of Elm City Compost Initiative, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the compost process, but we're going to start talking about how Albert got involved with Kira and this new business. Welcome, Albert.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity. Oh, go for the handshake.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this opportunity. So I've been interested in compost for the last 2 to 3 years of my life, where I've been really traveling around the country, participating in community garden projects, school garden projects, all over the place, and seeing all these unique ways in which kind of like these communities are building their sustainability practices. So it's been a really big passion of mine. And I came into Keene, been here for about like a year and a half. It's been really fun. I work for the Monadnock Food Co-op, and they do a lot with their sustainability practices. So I started kind of looking into like what composting could look like in Keene maybe. So there's a really good model that I've been kind of looking at and basing a lot of things off of, which is called Garbage to Gardens. They're in Portland, Maine, and they do a lot with curbside composting for residents and businesses for a low monthly fee, weekly pickup, fresh bucket every time. And I was like, well, this is a pretty cool and easy model. And looking at Keene, I noticed that like we don't have a lot of that going on, that capacity within the region to really divert all of that food waste. So, I started looking at myself, well, maybe we could build a similar model. So I started getting some ideas rolling, thinking about names, like, oh, maybe the Keene Compost Collective, maybe that one, or, other funny names that you kind of get involved with. But then just kind of like unanimously through talking to everyone in the region, they were just like, oh, wait, there's someone else like doing the same thing. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then me and Kira met up at the Monadnock Food Co-op one day, and we're just like, we're doing the same thing, cool. So that's kind of like how we joined forces to build this, I think, highly successful business model that has shown to do really good work in other communities.
Wow, so that's great. So just great synergy. You were just on the exact same wavelength from the very beginning.
I like to think so.
Yeah, great. So you guys got together and you've now started this business. So how long have you guys been collecting? I don't think it's been too long.
No, we're still really fresh into kind of our business structure itself. We've collected for about 3 weeks now. And so still very fresh, still very new. We're building our customers, and we're very happy for everyone who signed up. So, so far it's only been, like 3 buckets there, 5 buckets to 10, maybe next week 20 buckets. So it's really growing. I'm hoping that kind of like that spark of sustainability like catches. And people are just like, well, I can do this, $15 a month, okay, that's easy. I think that's really the hope.
Do you have in your business plan at any point to kind of go to the restaurants and think about maybe getting them involved? Because I think they probably have a lot of waste.
Oh, we would love to. Besides the couple, there's a few organizations already in Keene who practice really good composting measures. You know, the Banana Food Co-op, the Works compost actively, and you know, we want to get more people engaged. And yeah, a restaurant produces tons of food waste. You know, unfortunately, it's the way it happens. And if we can take that and all divert it from the landfill, we'd be doing, I mean, quite a good service, not only to our own landfill and our own works department here, but we'll actually be recycling all of those nutrients.
Yeah, yeah. So when you take it, and I think that Kira said that you take it actually to Brattleboro, right? So what's that process when you guys come with your buckets, here's this waste, but what do they do? What's the process?
So they work an industrial composting facility that manages a lot of kind of like Brattleboro's townships compost, which is really good. So they take in tons of food waste a day. So facilities like this can take in around like 10 to 15 tons daily. 10
to 15.
It's quite an impressive number, and you know that's what I mean. And when you think about the waste generated per person per day, you know, a person might generate around a pound of food waste daily. Potentially, just thinking about, you know, like what's going in there that can be composting. We're talking our cardboards, our wax cardboards, you know, like an almond milk box, your bones, your meat, your dairy. It's a lot of food, you know, like roughly if you look online, it's like 150,000 tons of food waste daily that's wasted within the United States. So bring that to a smaller scale in Brattleboro. So they can take quite a lot. And, oh, sorry.
Okay, I just want to interrupt just one thing, because there's one special little thing a person would have to do if they were getting rid of their wax almond milk, right? Isn't there one little thing before they throw it into that compost bucket to make your life easier?
Good call. There's always going to be, we're trying to reduce any contamination. There's always a little bit of plastic on most of these things. It's the little nozzle, just got to rip it out, and then everything else can go into the compost.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out, Albert, to everyone at home, that there's some little things you need to know, but they're pretty easy. They're pretty easy. You just kind of pull it out, rip it out, or if you don't have that strength, sometimes I just get a X-Acto knife and just cut that. Yeah, I just X-Acto it around and, you know, stick that in my garbage.
Completely fair.
But when I compare that wax container to that little bit of plastic, boy, it certainly makes a difference.
That's good. And they're a great facility. So they take in all of this food waste and they put it into windrows, which are a really kind of easily managed compost pile. It's about like, they can be any length really. There may be anywhere between like 4 feet high to 8 feet high to 12 feet high, but it's just a triangular pile that is low impact. So you have to move it and turn it to a frequency to get it up to high enough temperatures. Those temperatures really invite all those decomposer organisms in there, all those really good ones that can really like tackle those compostable plastics, the bones, anything that's harder for like a home compost garden area, really they could tackle that easily.
So how hot is it getting kind of in that pyramid, right? So it kind of looks like compost pyramids, maybe
like,
kind of like
compost
looking
pyramids
at going to Egypt, but not quite.
Long rows of them, and so like, you know, it's like they can be like
rows and rows. But how hot? How hot is it getting
so
in there?
if you know, you shouldn't reach your arm into it, but they can get up to temperatures of 160 degrees and potentially hotter if you're not being careful.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of facilities actually have to monitor these temperatures really closely, because if they get too hot, they kill off all those really good decomposer organisms that are doing the job, really, that they're actually composting. So if it gets too hot,
not so good, and they have to start over again.
They do,
right? They have to they aren't moving it around fast enough, and so they must have these really huge thermometers, right?
That they do. If you see them, you know, you just
Yeah, they're probably, I think I've seen them online. I don't know if other people have. I certainly looked into all of this because I'm interested in my home composting pile.
Yeah.
But they're metal and they're really, really
and-
long, like 4 feet long, and you just kind of have to put that
'em in.
baby right in there.
And as a home composter, if you're ever, all these tools are available, and we have a lot of good resources in the region to learn more about composting, and we even want to be one of those resources. We want to help educate people, have classes, be like, oh, and things that you can garden at your home, and like maybe we can help you build your own little compost and teach you about it. But there's a lot of resources. You can find all these thermometer stuff online if you want to.
Yeah, I just wanted people to know that they're, out at that facility, they're not just turning these huge piles, but just like you said, they have to monitor them to keep their bugs alive, right?
They're
good
little
bugs.
organisms. There's primary, secondary decomposers, all of which kind of move through the pile to break it down, both physically and chemically. Sometimes you're breaking down the composition. Sometimes they're just little things gnawing on it into little more pieces. So it's a fun process. Composting is great because if you dig into it, it's very complicated. It's very like, ooh, scientific, and you're like, ooh, this is cool. But if you throw a bunch of food and food waste scraps and compostable material into a pile, you'll get compost, which is great and what we're looking for. So compost happens.
Yeah, kind of like when you're going through a forest and you feel that kind of soft bottom, right?
Yep.
And you look at the trees that are slowly breaking down, right? They're composting too, right?
Yeah, that's the basic of where a lot of our composting comes from, is like the leaf mulch on the bottom of the forest floor. I mean, that's where some of the original concepts come from. So these leaves, the animals running through, their droppings, whatever they don't finish, it all just builds onto the floor of the forest and breaks down, and then gets re-upped into the trees and the plants that grow there. It's a really good system, and there's a lot that we can do to kind of help replicate these natural systems.
Wow, though that sounds really interesting. And I just wanted to ask one thing, because I feel like, wow, hearing about this really great work in Brattleboro, I'd really like it for Keene and the surrounding areas.
Yeah, definitely.
Any hope? Any news on that front?
There's definitely, going into like the all above, anything's possible. We can do this. But within Keene and New Hampshire, there are definitely permitting and laws on what you can compost, and the Keene facility does what they can, and they're very good at doing what they can. So I really appreciate the work that they do, and there's potential for us to kind of build our own composting within Keene through a couple different, I think it is very possible, and part of our initiative within our organization is to maybe see if we can build those bridges, connect the people who are doing this with the people who know how, and really, find the space, the time, the materials. And I think we live in a very giving community. So I think if we kind of push the right way with the right people, we can get composting in Keene. We can get a facility up and going. It may take some time.
Wow. Well, that sounds so exciting, and I wanna thank you, Albert, for coming today and speaking with us.
Well, thank you.
And it was just great listening to you and Kira and learning about and learning more about your initiative. And I sure hope that our viewers at home go to your website and think about signing up for your curbside composting. And I wanted to thank everybody for joining us today on MPA Today, and I hope you come back next week. Thank you.
Stand up, stand out, shout it out. Yes, I will. Yes, we can. Yes, I will. Yes,